Good evening and welcome to Free. I'm Noelle. I'm the community director here at Free. And this is Carrie. She is our associate executive director.
Yes, that's a mouthful, but you got it.
That's great. That's good news. Well, here at Free, we are breaking the silence of addiction and creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. But there is one thing that we don't do here. It's 4 words on the count of 3, if you wouldn't mind shouting it out. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame. It's true. But there are some things that we do here at Free.
We actually do lots of fun things here. If you're new, we would love to connect with you. Outside of these doors, you can find welcome bags. Get a hold of either a home team member or a staff member. Inside the bag, you'll get fresh roasted wagon coffee, as well as a Connect card to stay connected with us, get our newsletter, and join the community. We also have some of the fun little wristbands that say Breaking the Silence of Addiction. And it's just a way that we can get to know you better. So please stop by, get to know us, get connected. There's also, next event is on June 17th. If you are a golfer, know a golfer, or have a business that you can support this amazing effort of breaking the silence of addiction, we have our 2nd annual golf tournament. It is at Arrowhead Golf Course out in Littleton. It is absolutely beautiful. We need sponsors, we need players. Please connect with either myself or Jerome. He's our community ambassador. And outside on the small little table, you can find the flyer that has information about sponsorships as well as playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Noelle.
Well, thanks, Carrie. Well, every week we get started with celebrations. We want to lift up the good. And so whether you're celebrating a belly button birthday or a sobriety birthday, we want to celebrate with you. So we'll take a couple minutes, raise your hand, and I've got Carrie and Claire passing around the mics. And let's celebrate. Kai's got one.
I'm Kai, and I'm celebrating 415 days free of fentanyl.
Good job. I love you, Kai. You're a favorite. I love you. Congratulations. Elizabeth took her last drink 7 years ago tonight.
My name's Amber, and yesterday I celebrated 10 months.
Awesome, Amber.
Amber.
Love that. 10 months, 7 years, 500 and some odd days.
Hi, I'm Melanie, and coming up very, very soon this week, I will be celebrating 5 months of sobriety from alcohol.
Awesome, Melanie. That's great. Congratulations. Love that.
Hi, I'm Cisco, and I am celebrating 30 days sober.
Awesome.
Nice.
Congratulations, Cisco. You know, my childhood best friend, her grandfather is here with us tonight, Jim Mulata. And Jim has been sober for about 50 years, and he's a retired Air Force vet. But so he's here with us tonight, and that's just really special.
My name is Jim Mulata. I have my sobriety dated July the 4th of 2018. And it's good to be here, see Noelle and some friends. And I really enjoyed this meeting. I've been here before, and I'm glad to be back again. Thank you.
I love you, Iceman.
My name is Rick Alcoholic. Hey, Jim, did you serve? By the look of your hat, it looked like you served.
Oh, he did. He was Air Force. Yeah.
Jim, thank you for your service.
Yep. Thank you for that.
And today I celebrated 35 days.
Awesome. Awesome. We got one more, Claire.
Okay.
Oh. Go ahead, and then we'll
Sorry, my name's Rachel. I'm celebrating 3 years, 3 months, and 23 days of sobriety today.
Awesome, Rachel. Carrie, if you wouldn't mind passing that microphone to Darren. We got one more. Go ahead.
Oh, my name's Fernando. I'm an addict. I just accepted a job offer today. So
Awesome. Congratulations, Fernando. Awesome. Well, Darren, if you wouldn't mind joining me up here. Look at this shirt. It's like
Yes, ma'am.
Ryan Canada's style is here, and Ryan's not here.
Yeah.
That's great. Love that.
Thank you for that.
Well, dang, our TV isn't working here, but normally they come up on our TV. So maybe if we turn, are there any celebrations online tonight? There we go. So we'll just read from this screen.
I'm going to butcher that. Robert Tack said, I made it to Fort Lyon on Thursday, 101 days clean and sober.
That's awesome. You did better with that name than I would have. Jeff says celebrating day 810 of freedom from alcohol today. Congratulations, Jeff.
Erica Garrity, grateful to be able to join online from New Hampshire tonight. Congrats to my husband's daughter, Olivia, graduating with her master's degree in education today.
Oh, that's awesome. We love Erica. Erica and David, they're our home team leads. Love them. And Darren, that red dot means that we don't have any more. So thank you
Great.
for
Thank
coming
you.
up. Yeah, great. Well, I have one more just mini celebration, but if Mickey, my husband, if he stays on the straight and narrow for the next 12 hours tonight, he will have 5 years of sobriety tomorrow. So congratulations, babe. Y'all pray for him tonight, though, okay? Well, we've been in this 7-week series here at Free called Now What? Tonight I want to talk about I have community hurt. Now what? So here's a series video to check out. I have community hurt. Now what? So, to kick things off tonight, I just want to take a minute and I want you to feel sorry for me. You should feel sorry for me because I have to talk about community hurt tonight in front of a community where I am a leader in that community. And I have community hurt from this community. That's a tall order. You should feel sorry for me. You know, and in this room here tonight, we have some serious pain that has been caused by communities and churches, recovery spaces, and 12-step meetings. There has been abuse in this room. Leaders have failed us in this room. Maybe you've been wrongly rejected and there's some lingering hurt, or you were shamed into legalism. Or gossiped that one night, you know, in that meeting when you weren't there. Some of us, we've listened to a podcast or watched a documentary about another group of people who have community hurt, and now we have community hurt for them. So what do you do when you have community hurt? You know, I was brought on staff here at Free 4 years ago. And at that time, Reverend Ryan and our digital content director, Danny, he's the guy who still does our videos to this day, they would have these meetings together. And in these meetings, they would come up with these really great ideas and these strategic visions for how Free was gonna look. And then all those great ideas and that visioning, it would stay right in that meeting. Nothing ever got done. And so they asked me one day, hey, do you want a part-time job to help us with this? And I didn't really want a part-time job, but they assured me I would want a part-time job. And so I was hired. And the strangest thing started to happen. I started to really enjoy this job. You know, Danny and Ryan, they were the dreamers, and I was the doer. I was like the project manager of their ideas. And my first title at Free, it was a vision implementation lead. It was really fitting. And we would come up with the ideas, what series we were going to be in, and our storytellers, and we were molding this little baby nonprofit. And then during this time, in 2020, it was COVID, and I get this call really early on a Thursday morning, and Ryan Canaday, he never wakes up early. And so if you get a phone call from him first thing in the morning, like something is going wrong. And he called me and he told me that all the Canadays in the household, all 100 of them, they had COVID, and I needed to run service that Saturday. Now, at this time, I was no stranger to public speaking, but I had never written a sermon, let alone preached one. And that Saturday night, it was a success, all things considering. And then from time to time, every 6 weeks or so, Rev Ryan, he would have me preach just to give himself a break. And then during this time, I started to really enjoy unpacking scripture and spiritual text. And I loved sharing my truth in hopes that it would touch another's heart. And this hunger, it began to develop in me as I continued to seek and unpack theology, and then my own recovery and how the two kind of were woven together. And so in the spring of 2022, I was accepted into the Iliff School of Theology down the street to get my master's in divinity. And I got a pretty big scholarship that I didn't apply for. And I just started dating Mickey, and I was working full-time in the engineering world, and I thought things were really falling into place for me. Like I had really found my rhythm. And then that summer, it was the same week I signed up for my first semester of classes at Iliff. It was that week that I found out that I was pregnant. And for months, I didn't tell hardly a soul. I needed that time to kind of run through some scenarios in my head and how this was going to look. I knew I was going to continue in the engineering field full-time, and I knew I wanted to keep my part-time job at Free as the community director now. But I was at this fork in the road between seminary and motherhood, and I knew which one needed to take the back burner. And the weeks after I told Ryan I was pregnant, those were some tough weeks. And it wasn't because Ryan didn't accept my pregnancy, because he absolutely did. But it was because he didn't know what that would mean for Free. So if I wasn't going to seminary, I couldn't be a pastor. And if I wasn't going to be a pastor, did it make sense for me to continue to preach? Or should we find another pastor? Where were we going to find this person? Going outside of the organization? All of these questions, they started to arise. Questions that I didn't have the answers to. And questions that Ryan didn't have the answers to either. We had spent all this time coming up with this plan for what Free was going to look like. And I had thrown this proverbial wrench into those plans. And we had to go back to the drawing board. And let me tell you, during that time of going back to the drawing board, that was a really dark time for me. I was mourning something that wasn't meant for me at that time. And I don't know who needs to hear this tonight, but permission to mourn. Like I know Ryan was mourning during this time too. Think about it from his perspective. He had spent years working at St. Luke's full-time and building Free. And finally, he had some relief. Like he finally wasn't able to, he didn't have to do it all on his own. And then that had just evaporated. And the first couple months, we had some tough conversations. And we were frustrated with one another, and we had some real resentments that were brewing. I had community hurt because I thought this community, I was thinking that they were. I was thinking that you were moving on without me. Like that I was no longer going to be a heartbeat of this place. And I had created this narrative in my head. Like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy. I was no longer needed. And I played this narrative in my head over and over and over again. And this narrative, it was the gasoline on my fear and on my resentments, the story that I was telling myself. So what do you do when you have community hurt? Acts chapter 9 is a story of church hurt. And Acts chapter 9 tells us the story of the Apostle Paul's transformation. See, before he was the Apostle Paul, he was a guy from the wrong side of the tracks named Saul. And he was a killer of Christians, and he destroyed churches. And one day, while he was traveling from Jerusalem to Damascus, Jesus shot him down from his horse with a bolt of lightning, and in one foul swoop gave him a new name, a new calling, and said, Paul, you're going to go live on purpose now. And from that moment on, Paul's life, he took a complete 180. And so Paul, he spends the next 3 years in Damascus preaching. And then he returns to Jerusalem to join the church, and this is what happens. Acts chapter 9, verses 26 to 27. When Saul arrived in Jerusalem, he tried to meet with the believers, but they were afraid of him. They did not believe he had truly become a believer. Ouch. And then Barnabas brought him to the apostles and told him how Saul had seen the Lord on the way to Damascus and how the Lord had spoken to Saul. He also told him that Saul had preached boldly in the name of Jesus in Damascus. And it's that one phrase, they did not believe he had truly become a believer, that has been hanging on my heart all week. See, Paul was hurt by the church. When Paul arrived in Jerusalem, he tried to meet with the believers, so church folks, but they were all afraid of him. They did not believe he had truly become a believer. So Paul gets rejected by the church because of his former life. And I don't know who needs to hear this tonight, and maybe you just need a reminder, but your past does not disqualify you from the grace of God or from his church or his community. I mean, yes, there are consequences to our former actions and our decisions, but make no mistake about it. Once we start to clear away the wreckage of our past, live our life with a little bit more spiritual soundness, walk in the sunlight of the Spirit, that's when our former life becomes just that, a former life. And if I'm Paul, man, I'm mad in that moment. Like, excuse me, church. Yeah, of course I have a past, but that was 3 years ago. I have been out building the church and preaching the gospel, and I have faced nonstop persecution from the world. And I expected it from the world, but I didn't expect it from the church. Not you, not this friendly fire. Free, church hurt, community hurt is not a new phenomenon. For as long as humanity has existed, it has existed too. So that's why when you're hurt by a community or a church, a 12-step meeting or a recovery space, the first thing you need to do is remember reality. Communities are not God. They are imperfect people seeking God. And your emotions, they're not necessarily wrong. I don't know about you, but my emotions, they're deceivers because they magnify. In other words, fear will have you believing that the literal ceiling is caving in on you. But of course it's not. Panic, stress, anxiety will have you feeling like the walls are caving in on you. And of course they're not. And anger will convince you the worst thing is true about a person. And it's not. That's why you need to remember reality. These communities are not God. The church is not God. They are imperfect people. I once heard a pastor named Craig Rochelle say it this way. When metaphorically speaking, people in a church throw stones at him, either publicly or privately, he reminds himself that the church didn't let me down, but a person did. And that's such an important distinction. Like, the church didn't fail you. The community didn't fail you. A person did. Or a small group of people failed you. Remember reality. You know, Mickey and I, we've been married for 1.5 years now. But we've never had a wedding. And so this June, we're finally going to have a wedding with all of our friends and our family. And to be honest, I've never been one of those women who has their entire wedding planned out on a Pinterest board. Like, I've never cut out wedding dresses from a magazine and taped them together and what it's going to look like. It's just not my thing. And so when I found a wedding venue in Boulder that, you know, it's kind of a plug-and-play place. They set everything up, they handle the food, everything that goes into a wedding, they do. And on top of it, it has this great little cabin that you can rent as an Airbnb on site. And it's quaint, it's cozy, it's adorably decorated, and it was one of the reasons that I chose this venue. And when I was first emailing with this place, I said I would love to reserve it for June 13th and June 14th. And they said, no problem. Keep in mind, we're 1.5 years out at this point. You've got it, June 13th and June 14th. A few months later, we drive up to the venue to sign the contracts, put down our deposit, and I noticed that the cabin isn't on the contract. But that's okay. Probably just forgot. I'm a woman of God, no problem. So I got the event planner, said, can you include the cabin for June 13th and June 14th? She apologized and said, no problem, I'll send you the updated cabin, contract rental. So a few days later, I get a phone call from her, and she's apologizing profusely because the cabin is not available on June 13th and June 14th. And it ruined the whole venue for me, man. Like, that was one of the reasons that I wanted to go to that specific wedding venue. And now I will never rent another Airbnb or plan my wedding for the rest of my life ever. Of course I will. And I've done one of those things since then. You know, 2 weeks ago, my family, we stayed in an Airbnb in Texas. And this morning, I firmed up the DJ for our wedding. Now, I may choose a different Airbnb next time. Or I may go with a separate wedding venue. But I'm not going to let one bad experience keep me away from fun vacations with my family or from marrying the love of my life. And the same thing is true about the church. Like Paul, he had a few bad church experiences, but he decided not to let the sins of a few church people keep him from the goodness of God. And that was a decision that he had to make. And it's a decision that you're going to have to make too. Remember reality. Every human being, we all have deep, dark secrets, which means that every single one of us, to some degree or another, lives with a level of hypocrisy in our hearts. Because none of us live out 100% of the time what we say and what we believe. We are just a bunch of imperfect people. Free, remember reality. So what do you do when you have church hurt? When you have community hurt? Don't rehearse it. Don't revenge it, but release it. You know, when I was dealing with my own community hurt, I was going through this season of resentment and mourning something that wasn't meant for me at that time. And I had to take it back to the basics. The book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells us that resentment is the #1 offender, and it destroys more alcoholics than anything else. Now, that doesn't say that alcohol is my #1 offender, or codependency, or drugs is my #1 offender. But resentment is my #1 offender. From it stems all form of spiritual disease, for we have not only been mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. See, the word resentment, it comes from 2 old words. The first being R-E, re. And if you put re in front of anything, it means to do over again. So repaint, redo, replay. And that last part of the word, sentiment, is an old Latin word, sentere, which means to feel. So the word resentment quite literally means to re-feel. So when Ryan said something that made me upset, that's not where the resentment was formed. The resentment was formed when I went home that night and I replayed our conversation. And I replayed everything that he said, and I went over everything that I said and how we said it, and I replayed it over and over and over again. And I refelt it over and over again. And I'm not completely honest with myself when this is happening. Because every time I'm replaying that message, Ryan's part, it got a little bit worse. Then I'd replay it again, and my part got a little bit less. Until pretty soon, I'm telling myself a story. And Ryan's side of the street looks like Mardi Gras just happened. And my side of the street is as clean as can be. Let me tell you from experience that kind of internal struggle causes this soul sickness within you. Don't let it. You got to let it go. So what did I do to let it go? Well, I prayed. I talked it out with a friend. I went to a meeting. I wrote inventory on it. I worked out. I meditated. Whatever you need to do to work it out, to let it go, you need to do that. Don't rehearse it. Don't revenge it, but release it. Free Recovery Community, we will fail you if we haven't yet. I will fail you if I haven't yet. You will disagree with Rev Ryan if you haven't yet. And you're allowed to disagree with us here at Free. You're allowed to be in process here. That's okay. But man, if you've been hurt by a church or a community, a 12-step meeting, a recovery space, I'm so sorry. Maybe that member said that one thing that one night, and it really messed with the heart of God for you. I wish I had control over what every Free Recovery Community member has ever said, or how every church parishioner has ever made you feel. I wish I could just take that for you. But I can't. So if you're sitting here tonight and you have community hurt or church hurt, I'm so sorry. They are not God. They are just imperfect people seeking God. So tonight, let me leave you with this. You were made perfect in God's image, and you are supremely good. So don't let a soul convince you otherwise. Don't let a different preacher or a church or a foe whispering in your ear or yourself convince you otherwise. You are far more flawed than you ever imagined, and at the same time, you are much more loved and forgiven than you ever dreamed. And don't let anyone tell you different. So what do we do when we have community hurt? We remember reality. We don't rehearse. We don't revenge, but we release it. And I think it's important to mention that all those fears that I had about what the future would look like for me at Free a couple years ago, none of them came to fruition. I still work here part-time on staff like I always have. And from time to time I preach and I still run service. In my friendship with your lead pastor, with my lead pastor, it's stronger than it's ever been. It's funny how that works. But the process, of me coming to terms with my own community hurt, it took longer than I'd care to admit to you. But that's okay. I think healing takes what it takes, But it was a decision that I had to make. to let it go. And it's a decision that you're going to have to make as well. And you know, during this time when I was trying to process all of this, I would go on these walks and I would listen to this song over and over again. And it kept me centered, and it reminded me of the truth and what really matters. And so if you're struggling with us tonight, in here or online with us, I hope this song helps you too. So here's Echo Holy.
Gathered by the holy cross, welcomed by your melody, an anthem I have always known, a song that's always been in me. All glory and honor, dominion and power to you. A million angels fall face down on the floor, all to echo holy is the Lord. My heart can't help but sing with all of heaven roar, forever echo holy is the Lord. Oh, oh, forever echo holy is the Lord. Memorized by every heart, written in eternity. Every lifted voice apart is joining in the symphony. All glory and honor, dominion and power to you alone. Whoa, all wonder and wisdom belong to no other but you. Yeah, a million angels fall face down on the floor, all to echo holy is the Lord. My heart can't help but sing with all of heaven roar, forever echo holy is the Lord. Oh, oh, forever echoes holy is the Lord. For you alone are worthy, God, yeah. Standing at the end of time, there before the throne of grace, majesty before my eyes, I let it take my breath away. A million angels fall face down on the floor, all to echo holy is the Lord. My heart can't help but sing with all of heaven roar, forever echo holy, holy, yeah. A million angels fall face down on the floor, all to echo holy is the Lord. My heart can't help but sing with all of heaven roar. Forever echo, holy is the Lord. Oh, oh, forever echo, holy is the Lord. Oh, oh, forever echo, holy is the Lord.
Isn't your dad the coolest? Yeah, for sure. For sure the coolest.
Thank you, Mickey. I want to welcome both our online audience as well as those who are new here tonight. For those who are new, both online and here, you should know that every week we invite one of our community members to come up into the living room and share a little bit of their experience and hope tied to the conversation. Tonight, we are so blessed to have my friend here, Jacob. If you do not know who he is yet, you will soon want to be his friend. He is one of the most gentle individuals who you would never know that he was so hurt by community. And now I feel we are so lucky that he is part of our community. So please help me welcome Jacob.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me, Jacob. I love that you're also representing the No Shame hoodie, both in the picture and tonight. So thanks for the nice clothing option. So I wanted to start off. I know when we spoke, your community hurt started at a very young age. You were not only hurt by a community at large, but you also started with your core community and that your family of origin. Can you talk a little bit about that first primal rupture in your community?
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, my mom had me when she was 19. My father was, he was arrested around the time I was born for alcohol-related sex offense. So, growing up without a dad and a younger mom, I was always getting pawned off, going to a different aunt's house or grandmother, grandfather, or friend. And if you ever were out in your drinking or your addiction, if you ever saw that kid that was at the bar who probably shouldn't be at the bar at certain times, that was me. So definitely felt, kind of abandoned when, just getting dropped off here and there and stuff. Never really having a sense of home. But thankfully, my grandmother was the only one person in my life that kind of solidified that for me.
And I can imagine that was probably pretty difficult to explain to your other friends, a little bit different upbringing. And I know you mentioned after high school, you enlisted in the armed services, and that was not necessarily to have this brotherhood, but you thought that you could finally find a community that you can both be proud to serve in as well as belong in, and that wasn't quite your story. Can you tell us a little bit about what your military experience and how that also created rupture?
Yeah, so in 2016, I enlisted into the Army. I was in the infantry, and as most of you know, alcohol is a big part in the military community. So every Friday night after work week was done, we'd go get a 30 rack and some handles and kill them that day or throughout the weekend. And one of those experiences, I decided to drink a whole bottle of Bombay Sapphire in one night to myself. I woke up with pretty deep lacerations on both of my arms. And in the Army, we don't really roll up our sleeves. It's more of a Marines Navy thing, but because we were in a jungle unit, the command or they had the option to roll up our sleeves. And after that incident, that day, it was told to our company that we're going to roll up our sleeves, so everyone could see essentially what I had done to myself.
So the community that was supposed to protect you literally put your shame on display and used you to show a policy, right? Of like, they literally changed it that next day. We also talked about during one of the exercises, you had a very significant moment by an individual. Can you tell us a little bit more about the betrayal of somebody who you thought was supposed to protect you?
Yeah, so in the mornings we always do PT, whether it's running, push-ups, log presses, whatever we were doing, pull-ups that day. And when you get on the bar, you're instructed to get on and get off and dismount. And when we were instructed to dismount, one of the NCOs to my right took me from behind my back and kneed me in the chest as I was coming down. And, you know, essentially that just broke me. I felt like I was a complete outcast. I'm surrounded by these people that we're supposed to go to war with, and I felt all alone. And in that moment, you know, I could have decided to freak out and curse everyone out and make a fit, but instead I just decided just to get back in line, keep moving forward.
And you could have ended his military career had you, in essence, told on him, and you chose not to do that. Can you tell us a little bit how you found forgiveness in that moment to not only get back in line, but to not let that one individual break you?
Well, for those of you who don't know, a first sergeant's like kind of the principal of a school. So I was called up to his office and asked about the incident. You can't technically haze or whatever in the military, but that all stuff happens, or being bullied. And if I were to said something, it would have ended his career. He also has a wife, kids, and family. So, you know, my decision. Test. All right, perfect. So my decision to show him grace, I feel like, and say nothing, and essentially tell them that nothing happened, was more, I feel like, a decision based on the other factors in the situation instead of just me and him.
And then when you got out of the military, you were still in active addiction, and I know it took some time to come into a community. Specifically, your path has been 12-step, but specifically here at Free, I could imagine that it would have been terrifying to trust a community one more time, to accept help one more time from someone who may let you down again. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like coming in here early in recovery, scared out of your mind, not really sure if this place I can trust you or I'm going to have a different experience? Can you talk about what it was like coming in?
Yeah, absolutely. Coming into these rooms, I was terrified. You know, I had burned everything down, had a DUI, I was getting a divorce and an upcoming shoulder surgery, so it was pretty difficult. I remember sitting in my apartment after getting out of jail in the fetal position, crying out to God to just literally give me friends in a community, because I just couldn't do it alone. I was going to die, and every sign pointed either to jail or death. And literally the next day, my current sponsor now, you know, he showed up for me in a way that no one even had in my life, and he only known me for less than 100 days. Took me to my shoulder surgery, waited for me, picked me back up, did my med management for me, and another family in the community ended up making me a whole spread of like smoked salmon, asparagus, potatoes, and all this stuff. And I didn't have anyone out here. All my family's in Florida. My wife wanted nothing to do with me. So that experience gave me hope that this community, specifically Free, was where exactly I needed to be, because I had literally nowhere else to go. So that was just, to me, is a grace factor.
And luckily, your shoulder healed quite nicely, enough so to decide to start playing softball on Free's sober softball team. And you started to trust and really get involved. I know you come to meetings here, but you also you helped me babysit during the dynamic dinner. That was fun. But you also just are of service to anyone who needs it. You've helped Tammy. I know you help Ryan. Like, you're always here willing to be of service. Can you talk a little bit about if you could give that next person out there who is still struggling to trust the importance of giving it one more try? And even like Noelle was saying, Free's not perfect. We can probably hurt everyone in a million different ways, but for that one chance to find redemption, can you talk a little bit about what you would say to them?
Yeah, I would say to not let other people or situations derail you from an experience that could change your life. Because time does take time, and you really don't know what you don't know if you don't go through it. So just because there's speed bumps in the road doesn't mean you have to pull over to the shoulder and put your hazards on.
Thank you so much for that. And in closing, I did not ask you this at the 5 p.m., so I'm sorry to spring it on you. But for the person who is still out there and they are struggling to let go of the expectation of what those people should have been, whether it was the family you grew up in should have looked like that, whether it was the Brotherhood of the Armed Services should have behaved like that. How do you find acceptance in what is and are willing to look past that and let go of that hurt and let go of that they are just humans doing the best they can?
Well, the rearview mirror is smaller than the windshield of a car, right? So being able to see clearly and have grace for yourself and grace for others. You can't change the past. You don't know what's in the future. So just by living day to day and showing up for others and doing the best that you can, you might just be surprised at where you end up.
That'll preach.
Oh, thank you so much. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but next Saturday, our Frontier, God willing, will be back to celebrate a very special milestone. So I hope you keep coming back all of this week and for many more years to come. But can you guys please thank our guest storyteller, Jacob?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. We'll be praying for you tonight, and Mickey. Well, similar to how we start service, every week we close out service with heartaches. We want to walk through your tough season with you. So no matter what you need to lift up, let us pray for you. So go ahead and raise your hand. I've got Jerome and this gentleman. What is your name?
My name's Rick.
Rick, and I've got Rick here. So Jerome and Rick are passing out the mics. Go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll take a couple minutes for heartaches.
My name is Larry. I just want to send a shout out. I'm in Tribe Sober Living Home. Pardon me if I sound a little crazy. I just had some teeth removed, so I just had surgery, so it's kind of hard to pronounce my words. But I just ask that you guys keep the men and women in sober living homes up in prayer. We've seen in the house that we live in a couple guys leave. One of the guys left today. There's a couple guys that have left recently on their own accord, but it doesn't seem like the reason for them leaving. We're kind of worried about their sobriety, considering that they haven't been in the sober living home too long anyway, and their what their motives are. So I just ask that you guys please keep the men and women that are in sober living homes, and not just in the sober living homes, but those out there on the streets who are still struggling with addiction, no matter what the addiction may be. I just ask that you keep them up in prayer. And also we want to keep all our staff members that are in the sober living homes that take us to events like this and take us to the CA and AA and NA meetings and give their time out and deal with us and our of course our therapists and everybody just that are involved in sober living, period. Thank you.
Yep, prayers for them. Thanks for that. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Lisa, and if we could please just put some prayers out for our friend Diana. She has been on a great path. She's working really hard in a program, and yesterday she was arrested. And so if we could just put some prayers out there for her, that would be awesome.
Prayers for
Thank you.
Diana. Thanks for lifting her up.
My name is Emery, and I want to say like there's a lot of things on my mind that like I feel like I'm starting to notice things. Like she spoke on reality. I'm not always in reality. So like I really appreciate your topic today. You know what I mean? I have my mind thinking about reality more than unreality. As far as the sober living house, y'all keep it up. You know what I mean? So just pray for all of us.
I'm glad you're here tonight. Praying for y'all.
Hello, my name is Rachel. We have a neighbor named Alex, and he has a little boy named Lane. And it just seems like he's really struggling. He says he hasn't had a drink since 2016, which is great, but he doesn't really like involved in the meetings and stuff, and I think he's just having a really hard time. So I just want to pray for him and that he finds his peace or something,
Yeah, prayers for your neighbor. One more with Carrie. Jerome, you want to join me up here?
Hi, my name is Carrie, and my one really close friend celebrated a week yesterday, but today was his birthday, and we haven't heard from him. So just keep him in your prayers, please. That'd be great.
Yeah, prayers for him. Hey, Jerome, how are you?
I'm better now.
Good. Well, we'll connect with our online community and see how we can lift them up. You want to take the first one?
Yeah, Julie King Dye. Julie's praying for continued sobriety and for my 5 children as we continue to navigate this path. Lifting you up, Julie.
Yeah, for sure. Damien, pray for my brother BG. He just had surgery. Hope he heals fast and the pain leaves quick. Prayers for BG and your family.
To Gina Oatley, asking community for prayers for my sister Alicia. She's under hospice care in California. I'll be with her for an indefinite period of time. I'm praying for her peace and comfort during this season. Thank you. Thanks, Gina.
Yep.
The end of life's not for everybody. You're a very special person for being there for her this time.
Yeah.
You only get to do it once.
Yep. Yeah. And Jerome, that was the red dot, so that means we're done here. So thanks, buddy. Appreciate all you do. Well, if you would like to help us continue to break the silence of addiction here at Free, there are 3 ways for you to contribute and to give. And it is because of your generous donations that we are able to break the silence of addiction. So the first is to go on our website. There's a drop-down menu. Go to the giving page. The next, we have kiosks located outside. There's one right here, one right outside this door. And then the third is, it's our app, our free app. So if you haven't downloaded this, please do so. It has all of our sermons in there, our meeting schedules. Those are constantly getting up to date, so go ahead and download that. We also have our dip jar right out here, and it's set to $20, so you can't give any more or any less. I mean, you can dip your credit card a bunch of times, but that's right outside there. So thank you so much for supporting our mission here. We couldn't do this without you. So if it's okay with you, I want to go off the Lord's Prayer tonight. So if you feel so inclined, open your hands as a sign of receiving. Take a deep breath. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Go and walk in grace and peace this week, and go Nuggets! Have a good night, everyone.